Pho is a legendary Vietnamese dish, and can you believe I've never had it? I found this local restaurant nearby called Pho Yum that has really good reviews. Also, Yum is in the name, so that's the place I picked to have my first pho. Pho Yum is located slightly west of Wolf Road in the Albany area. In addition to this signature soup, they have other broad dishes that you can kind of customize in a lot of different ways. This particular location is on Central Avenue. It has a handful of tables, kind of a small little restaurant. But as far as what I experienced on this day, it's one of those examples where something kind of small and simple wins out over something big and elaborate. The one thing that's notable about the front of house is that they have piles of to-go containers, which tells me they've really embraced the takeout aspect, which probably means I'll be going back pretty soon. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. They have these handy little iPads where you can do all your ordering. So on this visit, I knew I had to get the pho, but that didn't stop me from browsing the entire menu. In addition to the pho, they also have these little banh mi sandwiches, and they have a whole list of them, which I know I'm gonna have to go back to try. And also a noodle dish called bun vermicelli. There's a couple other soups, some beverages, including bubble tea, which you know I had to partake in. Because what's a better foil to a rich, kind of spicy umami soup than a really, really sweet bubble tea? Come on. But this is a part of the story we're really gonna have to come back to because getting back on track, I had to optimize this pho. And by optimize, I mean as far as maximizing all those meats. On the menu, I found an option where they had basically 3 meats that you could throw in there for one combo price. And that includes top round, brisket, and meatballs, all beef. You can also get things like beef tendon, tripe, chicken, pork belly, shrimp, broccoli, snow peas, or even tofu. I probably should have thrown an extra vegetable in there or something, but I figured all that beef was gonna be plenty. Don't forget, optimizing is also about the price. Since there was a small upcharge for extra hoisin and sriracha, I figured that was a better place to put my money, even though it's a small price to pay for the glory of that sweet hoisin sauce and the spicy and garlicky sriracha. So that set my pho at about $17.25. And here's a pro tip. Wear a tie-dye shirt with a really random pattern, if you know what I mean. The presentation is kind of awesome and really reinforces the point that takeout would be really good from this restaurant. The soup is served in a paper bowl, like a nice big bowl. And even through that bowl, you can kind of see the slight turbidity of the broth and all the spices, as well as the noodles poking out and all those meats on top. You got a little bit of scallion on top for decoration and fragrance. And then on the side, there was a completely different kind of paper boat with your lime, jalapeno, basil leaves, some sprouts, and then little cups with the extra hoisin and extra sriracha. The lady working there was also super helpful and super nice. She kind of walked me through how to do this whole thing because I had told her it was my first time having pho. And what she said to do was basically take the lime and squeeze it in before I even go for any of the other toppers. So that's what I did, but only for the first bite. Let me tell you, aside from like a really good ramen at restaurant, I have never experienced anything like this. And I bring up ramen because it's the only thing that's been kind of similar to this broth type dish. And by similar, I mean completely different. In this particular soup, you have a highly flavored broth that's really, really bold with beef flavor. Definitely some simmered roasted bones going into that prep. Where ramen is also rich with a lot of umami, very much like this, the pho broth is actually a little bit brighter in that it has some ginger, basil, and then also that squeeze of lime that we put in there. And when I say there's a beefy flavor in the broth, I honestly think that's before all the 3 beefs that I added to this thing. But let's talk about those beefs. It looks like what they do is actually lay in raw top round and brisket, sliced very thin, so that the broth basically cooks it as it comes out to you. And that's obviously on top of the rice noodles that are at the bottom of the bowl. The top round is kind of lean and chewy, whereas the brisket is a little bit more fatty and kind of falls apart as you eat it. So between those 2 meats, you get multiple different types of textures and chews, and it just gives it kind of an interesting eating experience. Then there were those kind of beef meatballs that I added to this as well, which in this case were clearly homemade, but kind of in the same vein of like a Vienna sausage or like even like a hot dog kind of thing, where you could tell it's kind of a really, really thin grind emulsification type sausage, or meatball in this case. And they're chewy in the best way possible and just give you kind of something to gnaw on as you eat through this soup, because it's basically broth, noodles, a little bit of meat, some veggies thrown in there from time to time. So this is kind of something to chew through as you eat this. As far as eating through this, it's basically like an arts and crafts project. You throw in some basil, you throw in some jalapeno, maybe a little hoisin in this bite, maybe a little bit of extra lime, some sprouts, little sriracha, and then when you're ready to eat it, you pick it up on that oversized spoon, you throw in a little bit of broth, and you just absolutely go nuts with it. And that's exactly what I did. At a certain point, I just got tired of adding stuff to each bite, so what I did was just throw everything in, including the hoisin and the sriracha. And yes, I did eventually get to the bottom of that bowl. But the crazy thing is, as much fun as I was having with this dish, I had to wonder, where the heck was that amber bubble tea that I ordered? If you're enjoying this video, be sure to hit it with a like and subscribe if you like food. The amber bubble tea was $5 and was advertised as jasmine tea, cream, sugar, and those little boba, you know, those big ass tapioca pearls. So we ended up ordering everything at the same time on that iPad and figured all the drinks were gonna come out first. And even though the lady who was kind of working the entire front end was very busy, I did notice that she did make our drinks kind of early on in the whole thing, but didn't bring them over to the table. She did bring over some water, so we had something to drink, but we really didn't understand where our drinks were. Being that I told her this was my first pho, this was completely intentional. After she noticed that we had tried our soups, she actually brought over our drinks and explained. She was actually concerned that we were gonna saturate our taste buds with those sweet, sticky teas, and that would kind of take away from the pho experience, at least from the first initial bites of it. And let me tell you, she really had her eyes on me trying that pho because I think she noticed that I was taking film and also seemed to genuinely want us to have a positive experience. My bubble tea was absolutely great. These things have a tendency of being super sweet, and this definitely was, but definitely had kind of that really, really strong tea flavor, which I like to get in a bubble tea. I'm not really a big fan of the really, really fruity ones. But as far as this whole thing, a nice big swig of that tea on top of a nice big swig of that soup, it was just absolute perfection. I did also take a sip of Cassie's tea, which she had gotten the Thai iced tea, and I swear to God, it tasted like vanilla soft serve. I really can't wait to get back there to try that banh mi, which the lady already coached me through how to order. Another cool place that we found was this coffee shop that's boiling their croissants. I'm not even kidding. Click here to watch that.